Hey everybody, welcome back. It is time for our topic of the show, and this week we are very, very excited. We have a special guest joining us today. I'd like to give a very, very warm welcome to the one and only voice of Sombra in Overwatch 2, Carolina Ravassa. Welcome to the show.
What's up? Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you back. We first had you on the podcast after you played Sombra, one of the first, I think that was the first post-launch character in Overwatch 1, right? Is that accurate?
I think Anna came first,
Anna
right?
came first. That's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But Sombra had her thing at BlizzCon.
Yeah, the whole what do they call it, ARG kind of thing or whatever, where it's like the cool mysterious reveal.
Yeah.
That was way back in 2017. So I know a lot has happened in the last 5 years. What are some highlights of your career over the last several years?
Oh my goodness. Right after Overwatch, after Sombra came out, that year I traveled a ton going to conventions, which I had never gone to a con in my life. BlizzCon was my first con. And then I hit like 12 that year, which was crazy because it was all over the world. And then I moved to LA a year after because I'd met so many voice actors at conventions and they were like, what are you doing in New York? You have to be in LA for voice work. And I'm like, oh, I guess. And it was just perfect timing for everything that was going on in my life. So I moved to LA. Dude, Anjali lent me one of her cars, Symmetra. She helped me find a sublet out in LA. I was living 3 blocks from her house, so we'd go to yoga together. It was really cute. But it was funny because like Overwatch kind of caused this whole change in my life, you know. And then when I was out here, I'd hang out a lot with Johnny Cruz, who's Lucio, and Fio, Zenyatta, and they were just so freaking adorable and welcoming and kind, you know, because I was new to LA and so then I was kind of figuring out LA then and doing a lot of auditions for voice work and started doing more animation. And then my voice acting career took off because I used to do, or I was pursuing on camera a lot in New York, and LA just kind of opened up this world for voice stuff. So I've been doing a lot of animation since then. And I mean, in a nutshell, that's kind of what's happened. But, you know, I've moved and I've traveled a ton and gone to more cons and started working on Valorant for Riot Games, which is also super exciting. So it's just been a lot of really cool stuff in the voice world, you know?
That's awesome. And I'm really curious, like, I mean, I know we talked a lot about your work with, I mean, you meeting all the different Overwatch actors back then, but you know, since then we now have like, I think it's 35 characters in the game.
It's ridiculous.
What are you still actively getting together with a lot of these different, have you met a lot of the new actors, and like has that like friendship and that pool of people like grown over the years, and like just what does that look like now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, since then we got Sigma, who lives in London, and Brigitte, who's in Stockholm. I'm gonna see her in November because I'm going to that Comic-Con, and they're so freaking sweet. So if we are in London or they happen to be here, we definitely meet up. And Batiste, we've seen, he lives in Canada. He comes in. Usually it's if we coincide at a convention that we meet up. But here in LA, you know, now we met the new Sojourn, who's amazing, and we still got to meet Junker Queen. But I know Johnny bumped into her, so we've definitely reached out to the new actors, and most of the time we have been able to meet up. You know, Anjali just launched a book, so we were supporting her on that. And my movie had a screening here in LA, and a lot of them went to that. So you know, it's just they support when they can, and it's really special. It's a good group of people.
Yeah. Yeah, how's the movie been? Because I think was when you were here at Fan Expo in Dallas. Was that the premiere? Was that right?
That was the first convention screening.
Got it.
So yeah, actually, I mean, yeah, I guess it was the premiere. I was doing a bit of the kind of I called it the convention circuit for movies instead of the film festival circuit, and I was showing it there because it made sense for, you know, gamers and cosplayers because that's who I play. That went well, and then. Since then, I showed it at a few other cons, including Anime Expo here, which was really good. And now we're getting it on streaming platforms. So it should be on Amazon at some point soon, but that's a whole process that takes a while. So
yeah. For those that don't know what the movie is, can you give us a quick like synopsis of this film and who's in it? Because I know you have some cool castmates as well.
It's called Morgan's Mask. It's a film that we did a Kickstarter for. I did not write it. Another guy wrote and directed it. And I just really fell in love with the character because she's a gamer and a cosplayer who's going through the pandemic, living alone, and she kind of has to find herself again, as we all did in the pandemic, because we dealt with either way too many people in one house or no people at all, and got very lonely. And I think everyone coped with it in different ways. So this was kind of I wanted to highlight all the fans that I meet that are gamers and cosplayers, and I'd never seen a story about that. And obviously the pandemic is a little bit depressing for all of us, and so she does go through some tough stuff. But then her love of cosplay and her love for her sister and mom kind of help her through some stuff, and she has to figure out if she's meant to be in this relationship or not. And her boyfriend is the one and only Troy Baker. So
Nice.
He does a great job playing my asshole boyfriend. So, but I think all of us had to make some decisions, in the pandemic, whether we stay with who our partner is or whether we move back home and live with our parents. Like there was a lot happening, financial decisions, emotional ones. So I hope it'll speak to, the gamer cosplayer audience.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
you go into cons and stuff like that kind of helped you develop this character?
Well, no, what's funny is it seems like it, because there's a lot of me in the character, but no, this writer director Trevor Rigby reached out to me via email. Like, he found my email through my website. Hey, I wrote the script, I think you'd be good in it. And I read it and I'm like, holy cow. There were some similarities to just I lived alone during the pandemic, and had to and I was going online doing Twitch, interviewing other voice actors. So I could understand the relationship of somebody maybe gaming and connecting to their audience online, even though I didn't have that exact experience. There were parallels. And so I was like, I think this would speak to all the gamers that I meet at cons. So it's not my story at all, but there are a lot of things that I connected to. So I do some improv in the film. And I made her very much me. She's kind of a weirdo. And, I dance around in cosplay in the film, and it's fun. So I think that I was able to take some of the stories that of the cosplayers and gamers that I met at cons so that we could add to the story, but I didn't write the script. And that's what's kind of uncanny for me. It's just, it really spoke to me, even though I didn't know this writer director at all. So it's kind of a weird, cool thing,
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
And just, I'm sure there's like tons of people out there that try and, get connected all the time about different things, but it's neat that it just ended up working and stuff like that. So I'm sure you get all kinds of messages from different people. I'm sure everybody gets all kinds of things coming through, and you never know what's going to actually click and actually, work. I'm excited to see it. I haven't seen it yet. I wasn't able to make it to the showing you had out here, but definitely whenever it comes out in streaming, definitely want to check it out. And
yeah, we're there's a lot of we've got distribution, so we sold it. It's just there's a big long process to get it on the platforms, because you got to get quality control, blah blah blah, subtitles, all this stuff. So we're handling that. It just takes a while.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into Overwatch 2. So it came out last week, not last week. Not last week, it seems like I've been waiting for it for the last year, but it came out. Obviously had some launch woes, as I think every game does, but I'm just curious from your perspective, when did you first find out, or obviously what you can say, when did you find out about Overwatch 2, and what was your reaction when you found out that Sombra was back? You had more to do with Sombra.
I think we found out when you guys found out, because it's not like we get previews or intel before y'all do. So I think once they said they were working on it, we're like, yay. And then it took 75 years. So we all just waited. I kind of hoped Sombra would be involved, but it's funny. We didn't really start recording for Overwatch 2 till recently. I think they were working on a lot of gameplay stuff. So for a while we were like, are you in Overwatch 2? Are you in Overwatch 2? And so we didn't really, we kind of hoped our characters were coming back, but we didn't know. So, and I had recorded some stuff a while back, but then I didn't record for a while more. So then I was like, okay, maybe that's it. We didn't really know, and then a big slew of the recordings have been in the most recent months. So it's always been exciting, but we're always in the dark, just like you guys are. So go a lot.
That's interesting. So how much have you were you recording for this? Was it mostly just new voice lines that were being incorporated in there for the? Obviously they have the battle pass and stuff like that now. So is that mostly what you were working through? Was just different voice lines for the Sombra character?
Yeah, it's funny. I thought it was just going to be sort of new kind of definitely character interactions. And then depending on the gameplay, I thought it was just going to be a few new lines here and there. But we re-recorded a lot of stuff, moving the payload, this and the payload, the payload, the payload, the payload. Because I think they were just trying to kind of refresh a lot of stuff. So you guys would have a new experience, you know? So we did record a bit of everything. It wasn't just, you know, I'm like, I don't even know if I recorded a new Ultimate. I don't think so. But, you know, it's just mostly, it was kind of like, it was a bunch of everything, you know? So it was a lot. It was a good quantity.
That's awesome.
Have you played Overwatch yourself at all? I don't know.
I've played a couple times. I've not played Overwatch 2. I've played Overwatch maybe 5 times, and I'm really, really bad. And it actually really stresses me out. So it's something I choose not to do.
Oh, trust
too
me,
often for my own health.
I've never played it, so I was just curious. How does it feel? Like if you did play it, well, when you played it, did you select your character, and like, does it feel weird to hear your voice come through?
Yeah, I did select my character because I kind of had to, but I mean, it's weird and it isn't, because Sombra has an accent and she speaks a little bit differently to me, so I kind of was able to disconnect from that. But I think I'm just fascinated, like, when the voice lines come out, and I'm amazed at gamers when they say, oh, I hear this line when this happens, but when I was playing, like, so much was happening that I was like, how do you even hear my voice line all this battle? Like, I'm amazed you guys even understand what the heck we say, because it's so insane. So I'm kind of just in awe, or like, oh, that's when Lucio says that. Oh, that's how Diva dies. Like, I'm just kind of absorbing stuff. Like, I wouldn't otherwise, but you know, I think there was just too much going on to be like, oh, that's my voice. You know? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I feel that same way. I mean, I went in there. I was playing a little bit last night with some friends. We have a group of people that is excited to get back in Overwatch on our Discord, and I was going through all the different voice lines and stuff like that, and listen to yours and listen to all the different new voices for the new characters as well and stuff like that. And it was so interesting. I mean, that's one of the things that's always amazed me about this game, is just how incredibly diverse it is, and how they continue to expand upon that diversity. And just like, you know, not just obviously the voices, but just the characters and how they look and how they act and all these different things. It's pretty impressive. It's really cool. So
yeah, I mean, I'm just as impressed, because I just don't understand so much about gameplay that's really intense for you guys, for me, for all of us. But you know, it involves a lot of moving pieces, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So what was different about, was there anything at all different from like recording Overwatch 1 versus now recording Overwatch 2? Is it easier, more challenging? Like, I mean, your career has changed a lot since then. So like, how has this experience of going into the recording booth, doing the lines, all that stuff evolved and/or changed in the last several years?
Yeah, I think at the beginning of Overwatch, I recorded each line more times because it was a brand new character for me. And then the more we get comfortable with the character, then we're like, oh yeah, I know this character, you know? So, and then, you know, going to conventions actually helps, because I talk with fans about voice lines that I've forgotten. And so there's a repetition to it that she just lives in me differently than another character that I might not revisit so often after I've recorded it, you know? So, I think it's cool I think all of us have talked about how we feel like, oh, we know our character so much better now. So, but that also might make me fall into a typical cadence that Sombra might do. So I'm really glad I work with a director called JB Blanc quite often, and he really understands Sombra well. And he helps me find different nuances, and like, you know, oh, you know, maybe she's not so snarky here. And it's like finding the balance between sarcasm and confidence and arrogance and jokiness, or, you know, maybe it's just a little more serious here. So I like that, you know, getting directed definitely helps keep the character fresh and interesting. And you know, there's a new event coming up for Halloween. It's the Junkenstein Halloween thing. Seen. That's going to be interesting, because we tried some different stuff with Sombra there, so we shall see.
That's awesome. I'm excited about that. I was playing tried the new Junker Queen character last night and was very impressed. I mean, Junkrat's great. Sombra obviously is great. But it's neat to see these new characters come into the lineup and see how they change things up. But I was glad to see another Junkrat like character, because it's such an interesting. I don't know. They're fun. They're fun and silly.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah,
that, so.
yeah. They're super fun. Yeah.
So aside from Sombra, do you have a favorite hero or anything like that you're like, oh, this character is cool for XYZ reasons?
It's funny. I don't really know Sigma too well, the character, but I like that they've developed a friendship between Sigma and Sombra. That's kind of cool. I don't know if you've heard, there's like a lot of new interactions with him that Sombra has. And so it's kind of like she's just always keeping an eye out for him. Like, I'm taking care of you, man. You good? Okay, we're good, And it's really sweet. So I kind of like that. I think it's special. And I like that they're developing those within the character interactions. That's kind of where we see their relationships and like, do we get along or do we not? And so I think, like, just like Sombra makes fun of Doomfist and like, it's always like, you're not my boss, I feel like it's cool with other character or even Sombra making fun of Cassidy. Like, that's one of my new favorite lines. So I'm not answering your question. I think I like the character interactions and discovering the relationships they have via those. But who do I like? I've always liked Lucio a lot. I think he's just a really fun character and so full of life and so positive, So
Agreed on that.
Yeah. He's definitely my favorite healer to play. Jumped in him last night and I was like, oh man, I forgot about the pump it up. It's such a hype moment. It's really cool.
So back in 2019, you cosplayed Sombra. How was that? And who made your costume?
Well, yeah, I would never do that. I would never make the costume myself because I don't have that talent. Melanie Jasmine is a really cool cosplayer based in Dallas, and she was at a con in Arkansas with me, and she was like, "Oh, let me do your makeup like Sombra." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." And then I borrowed her jacket for the afternoon, and it was really fun. And then she was like, "You should do this," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then she was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna coincide at this con. You should dress up there." And I'm like, "Okay, what do we have to do?" She's like, "I'll make it." I'm like, "Okay."
Sold.
I sent her my measurements, and it's funny. I showed up to the hotel room where we're staying, and it's like the day before we dress up, and she has the costume in bits and pieces and parts, and I was like, "I thought you were making my costume." She's like, "I am. It's got to fit you perfectly." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She was building it on me that day before the next day I was going to wear it, and I was like, "This girl's crazy." She had her sewing machine there. She had glue. The whole hotel room was a mess. She worked all night, and the next day I had this costume and I put it on and it fit me perfectly. And it was all done. Yeah. And she did my makeup. That's how they do it. Cosplayers are like, "Oh yeah, no, I just have to finish the thing." So they travel with their sewing machine.
Yeah. I did not know that.
Crazy toxic glue that they're using for some weird, pleather. And so anyway, so that's what it was. She did it. And since then I borrowed her Junker Queen costume for BlizzCon, and then not Junker Queen, sorry, Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And then I did Rhine, and Symmetra did her dragon one, and we did that for a BlizzCon as well. So not for BlizzCon, for an anime expo. Oh my God. So anyway, those are fun.
There's a lot.
So I've cosplayed 3 times. Oh my God. And then I did the Black Cat Sombra in Denver last year. And that was also Melanie, who's like, "I'll make it." And so she,
That's amazing. Yeah. She's really good. We actually ran into her one time. I've been following her since, because we met her one time at Dallas Fan Expo. She probably doesn't remember anything about us, but it was cool though, because I was like, oh man, because I think she had a Sombra outfit on, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then so we started following her through that, and I've seen that you and her like connect through a lot of things. But yeah, her work is incredible. It's just what she's able to produce with all of her different costumes and everything. It's definitely a skill that I will never have, but I am very, very impressed by.
My wife goes bonkers every time we go cosplay. She has like a whole emergency kit of buttons, sewing equipment, glue sticks, glue gun, and I'm just like, okay, what are you dressing me up as? And she just throws it on me. I'm like,
Wait, so what have you dressed up as?
so we have holy crap, we have 4 or 5 different cosplays. So because we go every day and we dress up as something different. So far I have Bardock from Dragon Ball Z, a Venom Spider-Man, which is just a giant suit, not a giant suit, but a spandex suit. Captain America, Deku from My Hero Academia, and a Joker, a Renaissance Joker, which that one takes a lot of time and makeup, which I don't like doing, but
Yeah.
she loves it.
Hey, you just gotta sit there,
You
right?
dress up as well?
Yes, she basically counterparts me every time. So she has a Renaissance, a Harley Quinn. She has a Venom, Gwenom, Spider Gwen, and then
Spider-Gwen.
she dresses up like Trunks, a gender bent Trunks, and then Todoroki from My Hero Academia, a female version of it. So we kind of
That's awesome.
we kind of go all out, and then Scarlet Witch or Hawkeye for the Marvel side of things.
Ah,
So,
nice. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
it's a little,
Stuff.
it's a little much.
Y'all always are good.
Yeah.
I don't do that because it's
It's a
too
lot.
much. It's a lot to do.
to walk around in.
Yeah, but it's really cool to see. It's really cool to see that at every con. Like I love going to cons, especially when the people have like those groups that get together and like you'll have like the Overwatch groups, or you have I always see like here especially the Borderlands groups that like dress up all in Borderlands characters. It's really neat to see all these different communities that come together for it.
2019 South by was cool because they had a bunch of Overwatch people dressed up, and we got a few photos with them. And who was the new character that came out then? The one that had the gravity ball and it brings everybody in.
Oh gosh, what character is that?
Have it
Not
here.
Wrecking Ball.
No,
It is where
I
is she?
can't remember off the top of my head. But
If
She's
you
a tank.
if you could
Oh,
cosplay as someone, who would you cosplay as? Like any
on here.
character.
Oh,
Moira.
I mean Sombra. But let me think.
Yes, maybe.
I don't know. I want to be something comfortable.
Yeah.
I do Wonder Woman for my film, and that's a pretty awesome costume because it's beautiful. So I dig that one. But I don't want to wear super uncomfortable wigs or heels because after a while you're like, get me out of here, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was
I'll think
Zara.
about it.
Zara. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So, curious, what are you doing now outside of voice acting? Do you have any cool, exciting new hobbies you're working on? I know way back when we talked a lot about your Hispanglo-Saxon channel. I don't know if you're still doing stuff with that or.
I mean, in the pandemic, I did some episodes of Hispanglo-Saxon, and I was just making jokes about how Carolina was depressed and they had to go viral on YouTube so they could pay bills. And so they all did like how-to videos, and they're really bad. So makeup tutorial goes wrong, and then cooking, he burns the food. And so, a lot of stupid things happening there. But it was, the beginning of the shutdown where we're like, what do we do with our lives?
Right.
So that was a fun outlet to have. But since then, I mean, the film took a good chunk of my life because it's, producing a feature is not easy. So we kickstarted it, then went into pre-production, then shot, and then we're editing. So like that, although it sounds crazy, took a year, and I wasn't editing the whole time. We'd edit once a week when the editors could on Sundays. So, that was taking up a good while. And I mean, I go on hikes. I like rollerblading. I do all sorts of things. But I've started traveling a lot more since the world kind of opened up a bit. So the last year I've been on a flight twice a month, maybe.
Oh wow.
And I've been to a lot of cons, and I hope not to travel so much in 2023, but I still enjoy going out to meet, gamers. So I think I'll do it maybe once a month, but I was doing it a little too much this last year. So I want to slow down, and I'm enjoying voice acting, so I still do a lot of it. I mean, that's like my main thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing a lot of animation, and there's other video games that I'm working on that are super secret.
Oh, so I can't ask about it at all.
Dang it.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, no, you can't test that. Well, because it's just I can't say anything.
Yeah.
For a while, it was like, well, Overwatch 2 is happening, but there's 3 other games that I'm working on, and 2 I think come out in the winter of 2023, so the beginning of the year.
Okay.
But then the other one, who the heck knows?
Yeah.
So with the voice acting, do you normally go in a studio, or do you have a studio set up in your house or anything like that?
Yeah, I set up a studio. It's right here.
Okay.
It's in my closet, and there's a lot of winter jackets around me. And I did record from there for a few Disney things and Nickelodeon. And oh my gosh, once for Valorant, I had to record under. I built a fort in my friend's living room because my house, my apartment building was being retrofitted, so they were drilling into the foundation all day for 2 months.
No.
So I had to go to my friends, and like I literally set up a fort and was sitting on the floor recording for Raze. So we've made it work. But now anytime they're like, would you like to come in studio? I say yes, because I really do appreciate sound engineers doing what they do best, and they take care of the big files, and I don't have to do stuff. I really appreciate that. So
Okay.
And what's that process like? You just record it and then send it over?
yeah, I
On
mean,
a
I have a
Dropbox?
good mic here, and the whole cloud lifter and all the stuff you have to do to connect it through. And so sometimes there's a thing called Source Connect, where if I have a good mic, they can record me remotely like you guys are doing now, and they have a really good quality of the recording, and that works. But I'll usually record a backup, and then there's like some server they have me upload it to, so I have to export it and upload it, and
You had to learn a lot of stuff, didn't you? That sounds
did. I think
complicated.
poor sound engineers had to have a lot of patience teaching actors how to like set up the whole sound system. And then, so our agent's sound engineer helped us set stuff up, but every studio has a different requirement. So some were like, oh no, you have to record on Audacity. Others are like, you can do GarageBand. You can record on QuickTime Sound. Like they all have kind of different ways of doing stuff. So every time we'd get on for like 20 minutes before and set the whole thing up. And like, I'm sure a lot of actors were like, I learned how to do it, but I know a lot of friends were like, this sucks and it stresses me out. And I want to just be able to enjoy my acting, but I have to focus on like, oh, put the gain up or down. If we're going to scream, you got to like work the volume and that can be not fun.
Have you ever had an instance where you're recording everything and then it's all bad and you're like, now I have to redo it all over again?
I was recording for a thing, and I think my computer I bought a new computer since, but I had a jankety computer and it didn't have enough space on it. So I wasn't going to record the whole, 3-hour session. I would just hit record when I would talk and then stop it. Cause sometimes they just record the whole thing. Even like when we're talking about something that you keep recording. So I was hitting record for that. And then I totally forgot to hit record for a good chunk.
Oh no.
And I may have said, oh, something happened. My system just shut down. Fuck, I didn't record those. So we went back and recorded them. It wasn't the end of the world, but I definitely felt like, oh my God, shoot.
Yeah.
So that stuff happened. But sometimes it would just be like, it was shut down. So you'd have to reboot and try again. So yeah.
Yeah, I've done that once. I recorded a whole episode on my other podcast, and we didn't hit record at all. I'm like,
We did that once.
Oh yeah, we've done that several times. I feel like that's just it's a rite of passage. It's like you have to go through those experiences where you end up doing something that's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. I mean, I've been doing like web development for 16 years now, and like I still make mistakes like on a regular basis. And I'm like, oh gosh, I can't believe I forgot that, or I forgot this thing, or whatever. It's just it happens, We get in our zone, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
But, I did want to talk a little bit about your Valorant role that you did with Raze and stuff like that. I personally have not played much Valorant because it's very intimidating to me. It seems like it's a very challenging game, but our community there's a group of people that love playing it. How was that different than like working with Overwatch? What was that experience like working with Riot Games and going through that, or was it any different? And how is this character?
I think depending on the director and the writer, it's always different, right? Because everyone has different styles. I think for Raze, it was a really special experience because in my head, when I auditioned, I kind of just created like, oh, she's like female Lucio sort of thing mixed with Junkrat because she loves explosives. Because she's Brazilian. So I thought, oh, cool, I'll just channel Lucio, But, and I booked it. And so I was like, awesome, I know what this character is. Yeah, right. I showed up and like she was very different. She is a little bit crazy, but she's also very loving and she's very uh community oriented, and I was trying to create like a good team, and so she's, you know, good vibes as well, and funny, and you know, but has some dad jokes, so you're like, really, Raze? So I feel like it was like a matter of finding the balance with all of that and making her unique, you know. And I had a really fun experience with the writer and the director because they were just like, improv, go to town, make up lines, do whatever you want, and that's not always the case. Like for Sombra, I've suggested a few lines that have to do with like Hispanic culture or things that I know were definitely very specific. But with Raze, it was just like I was in the booth reading lines, and then if something didn't quite work, I would try something different. They'd be like, "Oh, that's better," so they would choose that line. So it was a lot of collaboration with them, and they kind of created a safe space for me to just go nuts instead of worry like, "Oh, that's not a funny line." They're like, "It doesn't matter if it's not funny. Like we'll decide later, but it might work. So, you know, just let yourself go loose." So that was really, really fun. And Raze is really special to me. So yeah, it's one of the most special voiceover sessions I've ever had, you know. It's a good, it was very different.
Yeah.
And Sombra is also super special to me, but I think just like sometimes feeling like you can just go nuts and then they choose stuff that works, versus like a more planned out thing like Sombra was for me. I don't know. It's just, they're very different experiences, but really, really fun, you know? And I don't play Valorant either. And I know it's mostly kind of aimed at esports, but I've met a lot of those voice actors and they're super fun. And I think the game's starting to become more, I don't want to say mainstream because it has been mainstream, but I'm meeting a lot more young gamers that come up to me and say they play Valorant. So somehow there's been like this like uptick in young kids playing it, like high school kids playing it versus just esports, you know?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I was curious if it like, because I know it seems like with Overwatch, I mean, that was such there was such a really strong community that came around, like people loving the characters and in turn, obviously loving the voice actors and stuff that we're working on. And I was curious if that was any different with like Valorant, because I feel like from a perspective of Valorant, I mean, they've done an incredible job at making that game. It's kind of like, for me, it reminds me of Counter-Strike Source is what it's most closely associated with, which was a really super popular game. But it's for me, it's less accessible than that of, just because of it's a harder, more challenging game. So I was curious if like the community outreach or just the community response was different as a voice actor in the game from Overwatch versus say a Valorant, because they're both obviously hero-driven character games, but the challenge is very different there. So I wasn't sure if there was like, you know, maybe less of a, you know, outpouring around like Raze as maybe you got from Sombra, or if it was the same or maybe it was more. Like how would that differ between the two?
I mean, I think the online response has been a little bit different. I think the fan base is different as well. So because it was kind of like League of Legends, I think they're made for esports, right? So, you know, and people who are doing esports aren't seeking out the voice actors to like, you know, follow them. So we didn't have that, but there's a huge response for Valorant on TikTok. Like anytime I put something up on TikTok, they're just like, "Oh my God," and they go crazy, you know? And so then now that I'm meeting them at cons, I've realized it's a younger demographic. It's like middle and high school.
Yeah.
And Overwatch is young as well, but it's usually mid-20s, you know? So I think that I don't know how to respond. I don't know, you know, I know Apex Legends is huge as well, but it's also a very specific group of people that play. So I don't really know what it is, but there is a lot of love for Valorant online, you know. It's just kind of different, or like it's huge in India, for example. I get a lot of messages from India saying, "We love Valorant," you know, and I'm like, okay. So it's like, and I know like they play League of Legends a lot in China. So I think Valorant is probably big there too. It's like different pockets of where people are playing, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's cool. So I'm trying to think, what is there any other, I don't know, any game that you've worked on outside of like, I mean, Valorant and Overwatch are the big ones, but anything that's just has like a special place in your heart that you've worked on that's like just really stands out for the experience you had with that, whether it be just the people you work with there or like what that character was in the game or anything like that, beyond the two there?
Yeah. I mean, those are the obvious ones just because, I mean, Overwatch, even more than Valorant, it's just like I've met so many voice actors and like that are now family, you know, because I do meet up quite often in LA to hang. So Overwatch changed all of our lives, you know, for real. And I mean, I had a really good time working on Red Dead 2, you know. I'm not a main character there, but the guys that are, you know, Arthur Morgan and Dutch and John Marsden or Josh Marsden, I forget, John Marsden, I guess.
John Marsden, yeah.
They're all like, they're so freaking cool. And when I see them at conventions, we're like, oh my God, we have to get dinner. You know, so they're like just lovely people. So I love that I get to meet awesome actors working on these games, and we did motion capture, so it was different, you know. And it's just like I get to meet cool people working on these projects, you know. So and those are more fun in a sense because we get to work with each other. We're not in a booth working by ourselves. So I like it when we get to do mocap on games because we get to actually interact with other people. When we record for Valorant and Overwatch, it's in a booth by ourselves, and we don't get to interact with the other actors. So, so that's different in that sense. But I mean, Overwatch and Valorant are the top just because these characters mean so much to us, you know. We'll see what happens. Like with the other games I'm working on, I also work in the booth by myself, so I still don't know, you know, what that response like. They're special to me, but I like doing on camera stuff because you get to interact with people, right? We get to do scene work. We get to act opposite somebody, not by ourselves. So another really cool project is Hamster and Gretel. I'm working on a Disney show, and I do record by myself, but we've gotten to do San Diego Comic-Con and then D23 with a lot of the cast members. And, you know, they're awesome actors. And one of the writers is a good friend, Joanna Hausman, and this show's on Disney Plus now and streaming on Disney Channel. And so it's like, there's just so much, there's so much fun stuff that can happen when we get together in person, right. You know? And so we record separately, but then when we get to celebrate or do panels for, you know, San Diego Comic-Con, it's like, and then we go to dinner and then we go to a party. And so it's like, that's, I think the part that I love the most is getting to celebrate with the people that worked on this project for so long. Cause we did that all in the pandemic. And I definitely recorded from my closet for that. And, you know, I've done a lot of episodes for them. And it's always via Zoom when you're seeing a bunch of little boxes. And so when you get to celebrate in person, it's really special. And that's a really fun show. If you liked Phineas and Ferb, it's the same creator and it's really funny. And, you know, it's kind of ridiculous. And I play Gretel's mom. So, you know.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to give that one a watch.
Yeah, I was just watching it.
Oh, yeah?
Well, not recently, but I was just watching it on his screen. It looks interesting.
That's awesome. So with Overwatch 2, it's now that it's been out and stuff like that, have you seen any I mean, it's like the story part of it hasn't come out yet, which I'm super excited to see what that's going to be like. But have you noticed any influx of like new fans or new followers or anything like that in the last little week, or has it just not, you know, kind of been out enough to see any major change in just like the exposure of Sombra and now like in a new title essentially?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen a little bit of everyone's like, Sombra hacked the servers. That's why we can't play.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you know, people like Fitzy here who play Sombra a lot. They've kind of gotten screen grabs of or videos of my character lines. So I've played with those on TikTok, and that's just fun because we forget what we record, dude. We record so much that I never know what's going to make it in game. So once I see it, because somebody puts it on Twitter or whatever, I'm like, oh, cool, that made it, you know. Yeah. But no, not a new influx, but I think also, you know, there's just been people waiting to start playing and people like, oh, it's taking 40 hours to download. So I don't know. I think it'll take a little bit to get new gamers on that are because of the free to play. And so hopefully that'll inspire them to try it out and they'll have a good time. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We need a new Sombra short. That's what we need.
Yeah.
We'll get everybody else shorts before we get another.
I know. But, just hoping over here. Wishing.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's more storylines coming. It's also like if I'm not involved in a short that pertains to a story, I don't know about it. So I don't really know what the big web is. Yeah. It's just like what I'm involved in, which is fine. Because that way I can't screw it up and tell you guys something I shouldn't be talking about.
Yeah. So, what does the future look like for you? Like, is there anything that you can talk about that you're willing to share or look at, or just like, future plans you have coming up about, cool travel places you'll be featured in, or, any of that?
Well, I'm going to Stockholm Comic Con in November. That's going to be really fun. Oh, guys, I'm going to Big Texas Con
Oh,
for
what?
Halloween. That's in San Antonio.
Oh, that's
San
cool.
Antonio?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that
That's on the 28th, 29th, and 30th, I believe,
Okay.
of October. And
Cool.
then I'm doing a San Francisco one during Thanksgiving. Don't ask, but yeah. And then I don't really have anything set up for the next year, but so those are my travel plans. I'm still recording for Hamster and Gretel, and trying to think. I do send auditions all the time for video games, so I'm like waiting to see if any of those hit up. There's beta testing for a game called Shatterline.
I haven't heard of it,
Yeah.
but I'll check it out.
Shatterline.
Just saying, you might hear somebody there. So
Okay. Okay. All
check it out.
right.
That's all I'm
Oh,
saying.
wait, Shatterline?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do know what that is.
Yeah.
We downloaded that.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
yeah.
it's yeah.
I remember
didn't.
this. Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, it's early access on Steam right now.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right. Give it a listen.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I like it.
What else can I talk about? I work on Nickelodeon shows all the time, so it's like kid stuff too.
Oh, that's fun.
That's really fun. But that gamers are maybe actually gamers do like animation, so there is some crossover, but it depends on like the stuff. No, guys, I'm focused on enjoying my life. So I do work a lot with voice stuff, but I'm also just like, I think after Morgan's Mask, it was a lot of work.
Mhm.
It was a lot of work and it was exhausting. And I'm just kind of like, oof, I need to not expend so much energy for a while.
Yeah, need a break.
I wanted to live online and have its life, but I'm excited to just be like right now I have some auditions due Monday that'll get done, but I'm going to go out to dinner tonight. And I don't want to have like so much responsibility looming over my head, which was the last year and a half, when you're trying to get a project out by yourself, with a team, but you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's a lot of moving pieces and it can be anxiety inducing. So I'm at a place where I'm like, I just want to, I send off my auditions and stop thinking about them. And I'm not going to freak out about booking a job or not. I'm just kind of like, let whatever is coming. And I'm excited for, like Overwatch 2. Everyone's like, are you excited? I'm like, yeah. And I don't know what the response is going to be. So I'm going to let it be what it's going to be,
Yeah. Yeah. Enjoy life, have
Yeah.
some fun, that's important. Awesome. So I have one last question that I'm kind of curious about. If you could play any character in a game, doesn't matter what it is, where it is, any of that stuff, who would it be and why?
Like play
Like
voice.
be a character.
Be a character. Yeah, that's what he's going with.
That's a lot of characters.
It's so funny.
I know it is.
What?
That's a lot of
It's
characters.
a lot of characters to like
choose
to
from.
think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would like to play a Colombian character. I've done Mexican and Brazilian, and I always get to play other Latinos, and I've never played my own people, so that would be fun to be able to play a Colombian because I'm Colombian.
Yeah.
So it's it's funny. It's not about like, oh sure, like a Marvel Latina superhero that would be freaking awesome, but the world doesn't work that way, right? Like Bad Bunny is going to be a new Marvel superhero. So like, is there a chance for Carolina? I don't think so. However, I'm just excited. Like I never knew I'd have such a fun time playing a Disney mom, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So I feel like I'm just, I want to play characters that inspire me, and I would love to represent Latinos in a positive way. And so if a Colombian can be a badass in a video game and it's not about, drugs and doing illegal stuff, because that's how they're always portraying us, then, I guess in video games, like Sombra's dark anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, for sure.
like she's a super cool character that people look up to, and I'm excited for those roles that are coming. And so in animation, I do play a lot of Hispanic characters, and I think that it makes me happy to kind of be able to represent our people positively,
Yeah.
So So I've stopped I used to have all these dreams of like the specific things I wanted to play. And I think I think I want to work with cool people that make cool projects, that are kind, respectful humans, because sometimes we do work with people that aren't great, So for me, it's just like success is doing stuff with people that you care about, and really enjoying the process. And the outcome might not be a huge, AAA game, but it might be an animation that does inspire young kids to, I don't know, pursue their art or whatever. So I feel like one of the things I do love about Overwatch that has gotten me to meet so many people at cons is that we do get to talk to young creators that love a game, and then they might go into game creation or development or online, whatever, and they want to pursue that. And it's being able to inspire them and let them know, like, hey, if you believe in yourself, you can do this, and it's kind of having that FaceTime with people to remind them that, yeah, I waited tables in New York City and I ate some shit and I had to babysit and I had to work all these odd jobs to pay bills. But then you kind of start doing it, and you start surviving. And the year I met you guys at South by, I was barely paying my bills. Like I was renting out my apartment on Airbnb while I was out at South by so I could pay rent that month. And I was like, and then every month I traveled even though Overwatch had come out, like I was making ends meet month to month. Yeah. And so the trips were helpful because I'd put my apartment on Airbnb for 4 days and that would pay part of my rent. It's New York City, so you can charge a good chunk. Yeah. But I was making money at conventions, but like that was the only income I had. And so it's just like you never know what's happening, but you just kind of have to believe that if this is what I love to do, and Sombra was big, but that doesn't mean that I was booking other acting jobs that year. And Blizzard wasn't hiring us that year because the game had launched, so they didn't need to record us for a while. Yeah. So I was just like, what's going to happen next? But it's just kind of like, you're just making it happen. Dude, I put stuff on my credit card at South by. I'm like, here I am. Yeah. But I knew it was a good experience to be there and just get out and well, I mean, South by is super special. So of course, but it's just, I guess it's just like, it's pursuing something you love, like you guys doing a podcast. It's a big deal. Not everyone talks about trying to make something and dreaming about it, but they're not doing it, Yeah. And so we're all hustling to pay our bills while we do something that we love and until it takes off. And it might never take off in a way that's going to be financially viable, but it's going to be something that you love to do. And so if you guys are enjoying what you're doing, freaking keep doing it. You know what I mean? And so that's part of the stuff I love at cons, is just inspiring people to do what they love the most, because we're not always going to have a job where we get to make money doing that. But if we have a hobby that's making us really happy, that's bringing us joy in life. And that's important. After the pandemic, everyone dealt with some mental health issues. And so my movie talks about that. So, for me, it's important to kind of try and inspire people and have them become hopeful, because I think we lost a lot of hope last 2 years,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a challenging time, but it's been so great and exciting to see people like you and all these different people that we I mean, at that time we can only connect with the people that we see through our phones, really, or like we get online with whatever, we're looking through the screen. But it's so neat to see people like inspiring each other and trying to uplift people and everything, and that's just really great. So thank you for what you've been doing with just being a positive light in the world of Overwatch. I mean, I think that's a really cool thing to see, like how much, like, I mean, we talked about way back when, but even still to this day, like you have lived and breathed this, like, just giving people who, like, you love Overwatch more because they see people like you who are doing these just, I mean, interacting with fans, hanging out with fans at different cons, posting pictures of that, sharing the stuff that they send in. Like, it's cool to see that interaction happen. So, it shows that human side that we often, well, definitely lost a lot of during the pandemic. It's nice to see that. So, definitely appreciate that. Well, cool. And then y'all have any other questions you want to ask before we close things out?
I think I'm good.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm good.
Awesome. Well, Carolina, thank you so much. If where can people find you if they want to track you down online and follow what you're doing and all that stuff? Give us your
I think the easiest and the one I use the most is Insta, Ravassa, just my last name. And then TikTok is Carolina Ravassa and Twitter's Carolina Ravassa. And my YouTube channel has a lot of weird ass content on it. Yesterday I posted how to fold a green screen because I finally found the magical way, because there's all these YouTube videos that tell you how to fold a green screen and they're bullshit. And I cracked the code. So I put it up and everyone's like very confused. Like, why is this on your YouTube channel? But I'm like, nope, that's going to go viral because somebody's going to find it and it's going to help them. And, people are like, thank you, Carolina. What? But I do post a lot of Overwatch stuff there. And I posted Valorant content there. And that one's called Hispanglo-Saxon because it was my YouTube channel about my web series. And now it's just a hodgepodge of anything I put up there. So sift through it and see if you like anything. But I mean, Google helps you find me real easily because I'm not hard to find. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll have these links in the show notes as well. And Carolina, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you guys.
It's been a pleasure and excited to see what comes in the future. Looking forward to your upcoming roles and stuff. Once you can talk about them and share those. See what those games are. It's gonna be great.
Wait. Last question. Have you guys, I know you haven't played Overwatch, but
yeah.
Have y'all played Overwatch too?
Yeah.
I get to play Overwatch
and
too.
we're liking it?
Yeah, I'm liking it.
I am liking it.
How do you like the 5v5?
I think that's better. It's better for the game.
It is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate it, so.
It's interesting. I know, it's funny. It's funny because like I was wondering about that too, because we had a pretty tight knit like 6-person group that we would play with, and now it's actually kind of worked out because we just don't have everybody online as much as we used to. But I do like the 5 of not having that extra tank in the game. It's nice just having that one tank you have to worry about. So it's like usually it's just like, okay, I got to focus on the healer, get rid of that person, and then try and get rid of the tank, and then we can just everybody else you can just kind of take care of them after that. But it's good. It's definitely been fun to jump into and play. I've tried like 8 different characters at this point, and not all of them, but making my way through it, and it's been fun. It's I'm really hopeful. I was hoping that the story part would have come out because it doesn't feel like a full like 2 just yet. But it's nice that we're back into it because I haven't played it honestly in a couple years, so it's cool that there's this reinvigoration of wanting to jump back in.
Does it feel different? Does it feel like a different game, or it's kind of just like a revamp?
Yeah, it feels exactly the same.
Yeah, it feels more like a revamp. Honestly, it's definitely. I mean, graphics maybe a little bit better and stuff like that, but just having the new characters and
the old skins look like trash. They still have the same like you could if you switch between because every character has an Overwatch 1, Overwatch 2 skin. So when you go to Overwatch 2, you can definitely tell it's like
better,
high definition.
Oh, better.
You go to Overwatch 1, and it's just like not that great.
Yeah,
I'm like come on, guys, you had so long to update this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a little nitpicky stuff. The gameplay's still fun.
Yeah. The gameplay's exciting. I mean, it's been good to get back in with your squad because there's so many games nowadays. So like, we talk about Apex Legends and we used to play that, but like you can only have 3 people. So if you have a crew of like 4 or 5, like somebody's sitting out. So in this game, it's like we can get 5 people in there and actually hang out and have a good time and jump in and jump out quickly, which is nice. So it's been good. I'm so hyped for wanting the story. That's what I really want because I love these characters and these shorts that they've established, and like you were talking about the interactions between the different characters. Like that sounds so cool, and I just want to see that that culminate into one big thing. So,
Right. Good to know. Just cool, awesome.
Yeah, and I will say I fortunately I didn't start playing it until like Thursday and Friday, so I never had to worry about the 40,000 player queue that everybody was talking about, which is great. I logged in, my stuff carried over, like I had my stats all in there and jumped in and played, and it was super easy. So,
all right, I have to bring this up. I just watched your video for the green screen because I have that too.
I know.
You just changed my life.
So, dude, everyone's like, put your left hand here and fold here and do a taco. And you're like, what taco? And this was like, I put my little feet on the bottom, I fold it, and then you do this thing.
It folds in on itself. I've been going like, you should see me how I'm like wrestling with this thing, like, and it's never right, and it flops out.
Because my sister films me. Oh, there's another Instagram called Living with an Actress.
Mhm.
My sister started making fun of me. We live together, and she's just like working, and she hears me screaming for an audition, and so then she started filming me. So one time she filmed me secretly trying to fold a fucking green screen, and it's up there because I was so angry, and so now I cracked the code, and every single time I fold it, it's impeccably perfect.
It is
so
genius. So wait, how did you figure this out? Like, what was the steps to get to this point?
Well, so my friend has one as well. And so we were trying to do it together. And I was like, look, once it does the weird 8 thing, you're fucked. Because we knew, okay, sometimes it works and then you fold it. But as soon as it warps, it's not working. And so he's like, okay, so we did the taco, which is the first fold I do. And we're like, oh, okay. So it can't, like, I can't explain, but it was a 2-person thing. And then I'm like, something clicked in me like, oh, first, if you do this big fold, then it does the cute 8 thing within itself. Other than that, though, it was a 2-person job to figure it out, the science. And now I've got it.
I love it.
And to my girlfriend, we all have these green screens for our auditions, that we use the blue side. And they're like, Gato, how do you fold this? So I've been sending this video out. And my girl was like, that video is going to go viral. You should put it on YouTube. And so I did. And I didn't even care to like make it look cute. I was like in my house, I'm barefoot.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
bitches.
It's real life. That's real life, right?
Read the comments, though. They're funny. People are like, thank you, Carolina. I'm like, this is gamers, right? They're looking at this. But if you are going to, I want it to be, I should put all the tags in it that say like green screen, fold, whatever.
Yeah.
Because like when I was finding it on YouTube, you find all these like tech dudes that are like, this is how you fold a green screen. And it angers me because they didn't work as well as I wanted them to. So.
Right.
So wait, who told you how to fold it originally? Or was that instructions on that?
A YouTube video.
Okay. Because I used to have a windshield little cover like that.
That's what I was
they would
thinking.
just be like, oh, just do this. And obviously it's easy because it's like not even that long.
I couldn't get the hang of that. My wife like beat me because I couldn't do it right. So I just collapse it together and fold it up and just throw it away. And she's just like, no, you gotta do the figure 8 thing. You gotta go like this. I'm like,
but when it's smaller, you can do the figure 8. When it's that big, you're fighting
Kinda
against
like-
this huge thing that then just opens up and hits you in the face.
Yeah, it's way too big.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the instructions that they gave me when I bought mine.
Yeah.
Like, oh, just do this. It's easy.
Well, so when you you look at the YouTube videos where you're holding it like this and then you bring your left hand down or whatever the heck, it works. But sometimes as soon as it warps, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
So it was like, how do we do this every time without fail? And so, it took a few trial and errors to figure it out.
That's awesome.
Just saying, guys, valuable information on my YouTube channel.
You should create a Patreon, and this is all that's on there.
For more amazing how-to content.
Guys, help me make that video go viral. We need to.
I'll post
Imagine if it has like 6 million views because people are like, we finally found the way to fold it.
Well, because is it Razer or one of the Elgato has that one that just like pops up, and then you can put it into this thing. And I was like, why didn't I get that? Because it's like 3 times more expensive now after the
more
pandemic.
expensive. Yeah, totally.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna go cheap and get this little folding one. It's fine. And it's been hell until now. So
that's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, my friend had it open at her house for the longest time. She's like, I was like, I'm gonna leave it open. I'm calling in auditions, and then she's like, fuck it, I don't want it open. I want to close it. Because it's true. After a while, you're like, oh, this is a big blue or green screen, and it looks like crap in my apartment.
Exactly.
So
that's awesome. Great.
Saving lives over here.
There you go.
yes.
If you want to see that video, we'll have that in the show notes. And Carolina, thank you so much. Been awesome.
You got it, guys. Thank you so much.